Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How is everybody?
Fine.
Uh, Everybody is eager to get started with React, I hope.
Yep.
Yes, good. Two people are, or three. Okay, so do you have any questions about the things we looked at this morning?
How important is it to know React well?
Good question. It's okay, let's put it this way. You can get a job without knowing React at all. If you want to be a full stack developer, then you should know either React or Angular or Vue. And Vue is the framework that is spelled V-U-E. These three are the biggest or the most popular frameworks at the moment. And I have a feeling that React and Vue are a little bit more popular at the moment than Angular. But that can vary. That can vary over time, and it varies over distance. So I think that if you move from a city to another, then you can find that they are using other things to develop software. It's a plus to know React. There is also, we are going through the basics of React now. But if you start, if you continue and you continue learning React, then I think yes, okay, the recording is on. Then you will see that there are a lot of other libraries that you can connect to React. And it's called, I'm going to share my screen so I can type some things, because then it's easier to understand it. There are a lot of libraries that you can connect to React. And you have to know a few of those if you want to work with it. And that is what can seem a bit scary for people, because they think that it's a lot to learn, but mostly it's just a few things that you have to learn. And there are, I think there's a phrase called tool chaining. And what they mean by this is that all the libraries that you can use with with React. And there are many of them. And so you have to know a few of them if you want to work with React. There is one called Redux that is very popular. And this is about, it's something called state. And what state is, it's the, it's, let's say that is the memory of a React app. And we will look at state tomorrow or, sorry, on Monday or on Tuesday. So it's basically, we will look at components today or now. And every component has its memory where it stores its own data. And that is called state. That is the state of that component. And so if you have a React app that has a lot of components and they all have their own state. But with Redux, you only have one state. So your entire app only has one memory. And everything that the website displays on the web page comes from this this state. So this is one popular library or tool, a tool that you can use with React. You can achieve this functionality with other tools as well. Another important one is Next.js, and this is called server-side rendering. And what that means is that the examples that we looked at now, we are only using HTML files and we are opening them in the browser. And this way the browser does the work. The browser has to run all this code and display the information on the web page. But if you use Next.js, then all the rendering occurs on the server, and then it is sent to the browser, so the browser only shows it. So with React, what you have with React is React code is turned into HTML and CSS and some JavaScript. And this is the web page. This is what is shown in the browser. So you go from React code that you write, then React turns all this code into HTML, and the web page and the browser displays this HTML as a web page, because the browser can only display HTML. And this, when we are doing it now, all the work is done by the web browser. But if you use Next.js, then all the work is done on the server. So that it's probably faster than when the browser does it, and it's becoming more, this tool Next.js is becoming more and more popular. Another thing that you use in connection with React is Node.js, and here this is basically you can use it as a server, and you will see more of how a server behaves when we get to server programming, which is coming next week. So yeah, how important is it to know? It's good to say, if you don't want to work as a front-end developer, it's still good to say that you have some knowledge of React. Because like I said this morning, even as a back-end developer, you might get a small task now and then to fix a front-end problem. And usually it's just a small thing that nobody else has time to fix, and then they give it to you and they say fix it. So you have to know enough of front end to be able to fix the problem. So it may be React, it may be Angular, it may be none of them, it may be just JavaScript, but it's definitely good to say, to be able to say that you have at least some knowledge. And even if the company is not working with React, even if they are working with Angular or Vue, it's good to say that you have some knowledge of React, because then they see that you have some knowledge of some front-end framework. And that means that if you have knowledge if you have knowledge in one of them, then you can learn another. So you are not completely new to it.
But since I will want to be a front-end developer, it's extremely important.
It's very important because, like I said, if you don't, there is one, yes, it is very important because you probably end up working with some kind of framework. And if it's not React, then it's Angular or Vue, most probably. So then you should definitely know it. Then you should definitely have some project on GitHub that you can show an employer. Like I said this morning, you can be a front-end developer if you are a very good designer, if you're a very good graphics designer, because then you will work with the graphics. And that doesn't involve so much code. It just involves, it doesn't involve so much programming like with JavaScript and C#. You know, logic. It involves more showing things the right way. So you can be a front-end developer that way if you are very graphically gifted. But if you want to code, if you want to be a programmer and a front-end developer, then it is very important to know one of these three that I mentioned, either React or Angular or Vue, or maybe two of them. And you have the chance in your last project, you have the chance to create something with React if you want. It's not a must. We do not push for it, but you have the chance because you will decide that your own project. So, like I said this morning, this is an introduction so that you can get started quickly, because that is the problem with React. There is a steep learning curve, and you might have to look at many different tutorials to make something easy to work. I mean, just to make a Hello World application. I had to look at 3 different videos just to make one Hello World application. And the reason for that is that Facebook is developing React very fast. React is created by Facebook, and they are constantly working on it, on improving it. So things change often in React. And that is why if you look at the video from 2019, there might be some things that don't work anymore because they have changed them, or they do them a little bit differently, and it's not working. We will see an example like that, or we will see something like that now in a few minutes. So even if you look at a video on Pluralsight and you follow along, you might come to a point where it doesn't work anymore. And that is because there is something that they have changed. So that is something that you have to keep in mind if you want to be a front-end developer, if you want to learn this thing. You have to always keep an eye on what is changing. Okay, hopefully you will see now in this lecture a bit more about what how React is used, and hopefully you will like it and will want to learn more. So we go back to our code, and this is where we left off. And this is, we created a React element. And here what you have to learn is that we have HTML elements, which are the regular HTML elements. And then we have the React elements, which are turned into HTML elements. And then they are displayed on the web page. But now we are going to look at something called components. And because we don't work directly with elements, we work with components. And like Hadi said earlier, you can see a component as a section. If we go to Pocket, so React is all about showing things on the page. That is that is the only thing that concerns React. Yes, you can make some calculations with React to show the right stuff if you want, but mostly the only thing that you have to think about in React is what is shown on the web page. So here we have Blocket's website, and yeah, sections is a good way to describe what the component is. And if I would ask one of you or okay, divide this web page into sections, then you might say, okay, this top, the white background, this is a section. Then this with this part with the red background, this is a section. Then this menu line with these menu items or menu icons, this is a section. Here we have a horizontal section with 3 items in it. Then you can say that each item is a section of its own. So for example, this item with the image and the text and this link, this is a section. And then maybe also you can say that, okay, the text is also a section of its own. So maybe the text is a section and the image is another is also a different section. And then the entire section is put together by these 2 sections. Or components. I will use components from now on because that is what they are called. So when you create a website, the process might be that you get this design, this web page, you get it as an image from a designer, a photo, a JPEG or a PNG or whatever. But it's a photo, and they created it in Photoshop, they put everything in place, and but it's just a photo, and you can't, an image, and you can't click anything. And your job is to make a website out of it. So then you have to decide, okay, what sections do I need? What components do I need? And then you might divide this use the sections that I mentioned. You have this header with the white background. You have that is a component. Then you have the logo. That is another component. Then here you have a menu, categories. It's not working. Maybe students created this web page, but you see there's an error on a professional website. The category is not working, the category menu. I'm going to press F12 and I am going to go to console and see if there are some error messages here. So if you have some free time, you can go through all these error messages that you find on Blocket's website and see what's wrong with it. Failed to load resource. Error blocked by client. So yeah, there are a lot of blocked things here, so maybe that's why it's not working. Okay, so anyway. So you divide the page into components. And like I said, some components can contain other components. And then in the end, you put all the components into other components, so you create this structure that is the website. And in the end, you have one component that contains the rest of the website. And then you display this one component. And with that, you display all the components. So again, if you look at it as a tree structure, you can see that the component that contains all the other components, that component in itself does not put anything on the screen, and because it has the last components in the tree structure are the ones that are putting all the information on the screen, and that is what React is for. is for. So a component. Component, a part of the web page. So it's a part of the web page that you see. There are the two, I don't know if there are only two, but the two most used component types are function components and class components. And we will only look at function components. We will not look at class components at all. And this is because a change that Facebook is making at the moment. They have said that in the future, they will focus on the future development on React. They will develop React in such a way that it will be easiest to use function components. So because of this, we are not going to look at class components at all, because you will be able to use function components for everything. In fact, it will be easier because Facebook is going to go that way. So a function component is something that shows something on the page. So let's create a function component. A function component is nothing more than a function, a JavaScript function. So if I type, I create a function in JavaScript with the word function. and I name it hello. And it has to have a return statement. And now we get started with JSX. What I will type now is JSX code, JavaScript extension. And this is what is new. This is what is completely new in a way not, because it looks like HTML. So let's add an H4 tag, just to use another tag. And I open the tag and I close it. H4. And here I type hello from the first function component. So to those of you who have seen JavaScript before, or studied it, or worked with it before, and have not seen JSX, this probably looks very strange to you. And to me, the reason why it looks strange to me is because usually if you have the return statement, you usually return a value. In this case, you have a lot of text, so it would seem natural to have the double quotation marks, so that you return this piece of text as a string. And now it looks normal. Now it looks like normal JavaScript. But we do not need, or we can't use the double quotation marks here. We just return this value. This is a value that we are returning, and this is JSX code. And as you see, it looks, this is a simple example, and it looks exactly like HTML. So let's render this. Let's show it on the website, and then we'll go through what's happening in the code. So we are rendering here on line 40, and here we are rendering the element E. So we're going to replace the E variable with the hello component, and we write it like this. This is also JSX. So it looks like an HTML tag that only has one tag. It doesn't have a closing tag. It's just an opening tag. So now we can save this file and open, reload. I think I have opened it in the, yes. Here is this file, and I just have to reload it. And I reload it, and nothing happens. I was expecting to see, the text hello from the first function component. And if we look at the console to see what is wrong, here we have an error message. And it says, uncaught syntax error, unexpected token, which basically means unexpected character. And it is this opening angle bracket. And it says here that it is unexpected. It should not be there. So if you look in the code, This is where we see that it gets a bit strange. This, like I said, this, it would be normal if we had the double quotation marks like this, then it would be a string. There would be no error. But because we don't have the double quotation marks, we want to return this strange thing. So then JavaScript complains that this is not normal. This the first it doesn't know what to do with this character. So this is where Babel comes in place, which is this third line that we import. This is Babel is going to take this line, this code, and is going to turn it into JavaScript, into pure JavaScript. It is not something we see or see how it's done, but it will do it. And we have to now use Babel, and we do it by adding a type in the opening script tag. So here we have to type the attribute type, and it is assigned the value in double quotation marks text / Babel. And because we added this text, now the browser knows that the code inside the script tag should be handled by Babel. So it's not just pure JavaScript, it's Babel. It's not Babel, it's JSX. And then we need Babel to translate it to JavaScript. So now I save the file again and I reload the page. And then I get the text that I was expecting. Hello from the first function component. So this JSX code on line 33 is a little bit of the web page. We used JSX to create something that will be displayed on the web page. And this is how you work. This is how you create a web page in React. You use components. And the idea with JSX is that if you know HTML, which you probably do if you are already working with React, then it should be easy for you to write this kind of code, which is basically HTML, to put something on the page. And you can create, and of course, you create as many components as you need. So when you look at your web page and your design and the structure that you have decided to use, then you start creating components. And so we will create another component here. And this time, instead of using this traditional type of function, we will use an arrow function, which is the newer way of creating functions in JavaScript. And this here, this function, you recognize this structure of the function from C#. It has a name, hello. It has a regular brackets where you put arguments if you need them. You have the curly brackets where you put the code. So this has the same structure as a C# function. The only thing that is different is the function word. But with arrow functions, you create, instead of creating a function, you could say that you are creating a variable and then you store a function in the variable. So you start with creating a variable. And we will call this one good morning. This is a variable. And it is assigned a function. And a function, we will tell JavaScript that this variable will store a function, and we can do this by adding parentheses. So now we are saying that good morning, the variable good morning, will store a function. And the code of the function, it comes in after an arrow. So we use an arrow, and then we use the curly brackets. So now the curly brackets have the same function as they do here in this function. And here I can do the same thing as in the previous example, return, and I will use a paragraph this time. And we will say here, good morning, class. And if I want to render this component, I do exactly the same thing that I did earlier. I just replace the name of hello with good morning. And now I will reload the page. And we have good morning class. I'm just going to say a few words quickly about this. If this looks strange to you, this type of function, I'm just going to say a few words about it. It's called an arrow function because of the arrow. It's a function just like this one, but it's supposed to be easier to write, and you also have it in a variable. So you can pass the function as an argument to another function. You know, like when you create a car, you can pass maybe ID, model, year of manufacturing, brand. You pass values. But in JavaScript, you can pass a function too, or functions. And that is why we have this kind of function in JavaScript. And sometimes you can hear the phrase that JavaScript is a functional programming language. And but if you hear this about any programming language, that it is a functional programming language, then just keep in mind that you can probably use functions as objects. Because that is what happens when you pass a function as an argument, as a parameter. You treat it as an object. And sometimes you can also hear the phrase functions are first-class citizens in JavaScript. And what this means is that what they are trying to say with this phrase is that functions are the most important thing in JavaScript, and that you can use them as objects. So that is why we have arrow functions. And get used to them. If you want to learn React, get used to them, because they only use arrow functions. They don't use this kind of functions in when you're coding React. So if you end up in a project where they have a React app and they put you and you have to work on that React app, you will only see functions, or you will only see arrow functions. Let's create a third function just for practice sake. This will also be an arrow function. I will name it good afternoon. I will assign to it a function. And yes, Hadi is saying in the chat that in JS everything is functions, or objects. Everything is object, and that is all. That is correct. That is what you. That is what you read, when you learn JavaScript, that is what you hear and read, that in JavaScript everything is objects. And so that is something that you have to get used to. So functions are also objects. That is why you can treat a function like an object. And if you come from C#, where you can't do that, or you can, but it's a bit complicated, then you have to get used to this. But if you want to be a front-end developer, or you want to be a full-stack developer, and you want to learn the front-end coding very well, then you will code a lot in JavaScript, and you will get used to it very fast. And after a while, you don't think about it like with everything else that you know. So that part is different from C# and also other programming languages. But if you learn functional programming, if you learn this, where is it? Functional programming. If you learn this well, to code in this way, then you can learn other functional programming languages. Like, for example, there is a language called Kotlin, which is now used to create apps for Android. And Kotlin is a functional programming language. So if you get used to programming in a functional way with JavaScript, then you will learn Kotlin. It will be easier to learn Kotlin. Okay, so we have a new component here, and in this case we will say two things. So we will return, and if we want to, in both these cases we only return one line. But if we want to return more than one line, we have to put parentheses after return. And then the return statement will be able to deal with the code. So here I will just use divs, and here I will say good afternoon, and I will have another div, and I will say how do you do. So here we have two lines. We are using parentheses so that the return statement can deal with the lines. And we render this function like we did with the previous ones. We just add the name. We change the name from good morning to good afternoon. So I save the file and I reload the page, and we have an error. It's not working. And we take a look at the error message. And here it says uncaught syntax error. Inline Babel script. Adjacent JSX elements must be wrapped in an enclosing tag. And it shows where the error is. It shows us the code. It is in the return statement. So it tells us, in this case, it tells us exactly where the problem is. And if we read the error message carefully, then it tells us exactly what we should do. It says adjacent JSX elements must be wrapped in an enclosing tag. So adjacent JSX elements means JSX elements that are next to each other. And here it said they must be wrapped in an enclosing tag. So we have to enclose them in another tag. And this is because you cannot return, a function can only return one element. In this case, we are trying to return two divs, and that doesn't work. So we have to put both of them in one div. Like this. And this way, we are only returning one div. We are only returning this div. And this div contains the rest, but we are only returning one div. And this is important because, as we saw earlier, it could not return two divs. So if I reload the page, we get the result that we wanted. So now we will create a component that will display all these components that we have already created. So because we have three components, we have hello, good morning, and good afternoon, and we can only display one of them at a time. So, but we want to display all three of them. So we are going to create a component that is going to display these three components. So we create another arrow function, and this one I will call greetings. And it is assigned a function, and will return the previous components. So because we're going to return multiple lines, I put parentheses. And I will also start with an enclosing div, so I don't make the same mistake that I made earlier. So I will return just one element, and everything else will go inside that element. So here I will start with the function hello, and I will edit like this. And so now this component will render the hello component. And below it, I will render the good morning component. And then I will render the good afternoon component. And now all I have to do is render the greetings component. So I will replace good afternoon with greetings. And now I can reload the page. And we have an error. Let's see. It is a spelling mistake. Uncode reference error. Good afternoon is not defined. Noon. Again. And there we have the text from 3 components. So this is how you connect components to each other, and you can create a complete app. So this was an introduction to components, and these are the main building blocks of React. How is it? Is it still? I hope it's still easy and easy to understand.
Yes.
Good. If you have any questions, I'm here. You can ask them in the chat or in a direct message. So just continue with what you were doing or continue with React if you want to learn more of it. We will continue on Monday with React. We will look at some new things about components so we can expand what we can do with React. Yeah, that was it. If you don't have any questions, then we end here. And like I said, send me your questions. So thank you for your attention, and see you again at 4 o'clock.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.